we are welcoming a person to the show who needs no introduction, the GOAT, a legend of the game, Diana Taurasi. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. How's it going?
Life's good. I can't complain. Life's good.
Awesome. Happy to hear it. So, look, we're recording this on the opening night of the after the opening night of the WNBA season, after the opening weekend. And I believe with the exception of one season, this is the first time in 20 years that you're not in the locker room, you're not in the foxhole. How's it feeling?
Yeah, you know what? It was really nice to be on the outside. I was lucky enough to do 20 opening nights, which are the best. There's nothing like, the whole off season and 2 weeks of training camp and getting your roster together, new pieces, old pieces all coming together. And, opening night it's such a great night for the fans. There's such an anticipation for your team and the season to be. And, most of the time we're gone for 6 months. You don't get to see your favorite players. So, training camp. And then once that opening night is just one of those fun nights as a player. It's one of the best.
From what you're saying, it almost sounds like you're actually enjoying the experience of engaging with this as a fan. Is that the case?
Yeah, who doesn't want to be an irrational fan? I love it. It's going to be my thing. Yeah, I definitely didn't miss one thing about it. Someone asked me, "Oh, are you missing?" And no, I'm not missing it. I did everything that I possibly wanted to do in my 20 years, and now it's actually really nice to see these kids enjoy it now and take the torch and run with it and go where they want to go with it. It's been really cool to watch.
That's awesome. Like, look, you said you want to be an irrational fan. I got to ask you, you have any hot takes you want to throw out there after the first weekend?
Warm me up first.
What's that?
Warm me up first.
Yeah, you set me up. I was going to save it for the end of the podcast, but I feel like you kind of set me up for it.
No, it's been a good opening week. It's a lot of good teams. That's one thing that I've noticed early. There's some really good rosters, and like anything, the beginning of the weekend, whether you win or lose, you think the season is going to end on that day. But in reality, these teams are going to look totally different in the next 2-3 months, especially these rosters with a lot of new players and the younger rosters really coming together and really understanding what it is to win in this league. So it'll be exciting just to follow it and to see where it ends up.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you said after you retired that you felt full, and it sounds like from what you're saying that you still feel pretty full. But one thing I've just wondered about through the course of the last few months is, what was it that made you not want a victory tour?
Yeah, I wanted last year, a new head coach, new GM, a new roster build out. I wanted it to be about the team. I really wanted it to be us focusing on trying to win the championship, trying to make a long, deep playoff run. All the things that to me would have been the ultimate send off, and I was working towards that every single day. And even after we got back from the Olympics, my sole focus was how do we get this team back on track to make a push in the playoffs. So I didn't think I was going to go into it with the thought of, this is my farewell tour. I just, I'm good. I feel like 20 years, I've been saying bye for 20 years. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, it all sounds like from trying to approach things from that perspective just wouldn't have been fulfilling for you, hey?
Yeah, it's just something I didn't want. I didn't need. I just once the season ended, to me that was really, really the send off, and it didn't really hit me until I actually announced it later in Feb, which I procrastinated a little bit. Sorry.
I think, you're well within your rights to take your time. I don't think anybody's mad at you about that. But what have you been up to in the meantime, though? Like, do you have any sense of what you might do next? Are you kind of in the Sue Bird camp of turning retirement into multiple jobs? Or are you just enjoying yourself? You want to chill?
Yeah, Sue is busy. I don't know if I want to be that busy so soon. It's still early days. I'm just really leaning into my family. When you're playing, whether you're in season, off season, I was just always so worried about being ready. And that came with a lot of discipline, a lot of focus, missing a lot of things, a lot of birthdays, a lot of family, reunions, all the things that, when you're home for a long time, you get to kind of do. So I'm just leaning into all those things, really being present with my kids and Penny at home, and really just really dabbing into things that I might like, not like, all those things I'm still figuring out. It's really my gap year.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like you're actually just able to be present right now with the people that matter to you. And I imagine through the throes of being a competitor, even when you do have time off, you're probably always just going to be thinking about the next thing, right? Like, is there any, now that you're not in that place anymore, are there any moments with your family or friends that, do you have any favorite memories that you've created so far?
Well, I mean, we've been able to go on vacations, which usually was like, I'm not going on vacation. I
Yeah.
can't be in Hawaii for 5 years. I got to work out. You know what I mean? Like all these things that we really didn't get to enjoy. In the last 6, 7 months, we've really been able to really tap into each other and make sure the kids are in the forefront and take care of them, and that's been really nice. And
Hmm.
it's like you said, you might be present, but your mind is always on the game. And that's just how I always approach the season and my career, to be frank.
Look, I love this for you. I think it's beautiful. I think it's wholesome at the same time. And I don't want to add any pressure, take all the time that you need. But I have to say, so the last time you talked to the Ringer, I think it was for Bill's pod. Like I think it was almost like 2016. He
Yeah,
asked you if you wanted to. Sorry, what's that?
I was in my apartment in Russia.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah. You guys were talking about the time difference. Now he asked you at the time, look, if you wanted to do some stuff with the Ringer. And I just want to say, it just feels like timing wise, it might be a better time for you right now. Rebecca Lobo already said you could be the Charles Barkley of women's basketball media. I don't know if you necessarily want to get back in the game, but I'm going to throw that out there.
Yeah, that seems like a big task right now. Maybe in the future, I think the people that are covering sports and WNBA in general are just doing a great job right now. There's just so much to talk about. There's so much visibility. There's so many great storylines. We really are in a great place, especially in women's basketball.
Definitely. So one of the things that you have been doing is talking about more of your personal journey with eczema.
Yeah.
Could you tell me a little bit more about it and just like why you felt like now was the time to talk about it more?
Yeah, I've been so lucky to partner with Sanofi and Regeneron for Dupixent, which is the medication that I'm taking. And I've been battling moderate to severe eczema my whole life for the most part. It really came on strong in college. And there's nothing worse than having red, itchy skin, and at any time it could be triggered, and you would have these episodes. And I just remember times where I look back at some old film and I would have my sleeves on all the way up, and I'm like, why?
Yeah.
My eczema was something that I was battling on the inside that no one would really know or even talk about. So, I got with my dermatologist and, I told her about all my, times where I had to carry all my lotions and creams and potions just to make sure that my eczema was at bay. And when you're traveling a lot, that was always just such a pain. It was something that was always so frustrating. So, eczema is something that affects millions of people in this country. So, it's really changed the way I look at eczema and the way I feel, to be frank.
That's really great. I'm really happy for you. I have a lot of friends who've dealt with it, and it
Yeah.
just sounds really tough from a physical standpoint, from a mental standpoint, from a distraction standpoint. Like it's just not what you want to be thinking about. So it's like it's great that you're getting this treatment. I've always wondered this, like about especially public people who are in the public eye when they start talking about things like this. Like, have you had people who also deal with it who have come up like talk to you about it? Are they grateful that you're talking about it?
Well, it was the other day I was at a school meeting and a mom came up to me and she started talking about her 7-year-old. And I was like, oh, she's going to talk about basketball.
Right.
No. Her mom said that she had seen my partnership with Dupixent, and her daughter at 7 years old started Dupixent, and it's just like completely like just re-energized her because her
Hmm.
eczema is under control. She's more comfortable in her skin, obviously physically, all the things. And I'm like, God, I wish I had that when I was 7. To be
Yeah.
honest, like,
No,
I
for
mean,
sure.
something I just battled forever where, I just would never wear sleeveless shirts. I wouldn't get into the pool. I wouldn't go in the ocean on vacations. Everyone would be out in the sun and I would be like in a hoodie, all these
Mhm.
things. And I'm like, it's nice to see that it does, reach a lot of people in different stages in their life.
Yeah, absolutely. That actually dovetails a little bit with something I wanted to ask you about. Like when I look back at, old pictures, old videos of you,
Yeah.
I think your evolution style wise is almost like kind of tells the story of like the WNBA's evolution and its acceptance of queerness and queer style as well. Like I look back at old pictures of you accepting your MVP even at the White House, and like your hair's down, you're dressed more feminine, and like Sue has talked about this sort of unofficial dress code that you guys had to abide by at the time, and I'm curious how you dealt with it and when that sort of like shift came for you.
Oh, it was official. I mean,
Was it okay?
we used to get fined if we had ripped jeans on. I mean,
Really?
yeah, on road trips you had to, be dressed in slacks and penny loafers and a button up. And I would always say, well, you want me to dress like a woman to fly me business class? Like that was pretty easy for me, you
Hmm.
know. Like that was always my argument. But yeah, that's how we've evolved, and I think it took a lot of soul searching for one as an individual to really understand that you should dress and feel the way you want to feel. I
Hmm.
mean, I think at the core, when you can do that, is when the best version of yourself is available for not only yourself but the people around you. And you're young, you kind of follow the trends, you follow
Hmm.
what's going on. You're still searching and understanding your likes and dislikes, and especially when it comes to fashion. But I think a lot of times, what you wear is really a symbolism of where you are in your life. Yeah, it's been a great evolution, and I think now you look at the tunnel fits, and there's a big range of possibilities of likes and dislikes.
Yeah, absolutely. When did that evolution come for you?
Yeah, I think probably a little bit later, probably as, as I got into my mid 20s where I started venturing out a little bit more on like things stylistically that I
Hmm.
like to look at, as far as whether it's clothes, fashion, hair, whatever it may be, things that I was more comfortable in. And at the same time, I think society was changing.
Yeah.
Where it was going from this very buttoned up business look to, look, we're just going to a basketball gym. It's not that serious.
Yeah. Right.
And I think that's where the cross culture of fashion and where we were as a society kind of clashed.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a good point. Like so much has changed so quickly. And now you look at, even the marketing side of this. Like I have friends who are, they wear your bun because of you. And you look at, just the stylistic, the athleisure, all of that stuff. Like now that the WNBA is embracing it, there's a real market to be capitalizing on as well.
Yeah, I think, and I think that also shows why the WNBA is so important. It's such a reflection of society in so many ways. I mean, we've seen it on
Hmm.
the activism side, which is something that we take really close to our heart, and that's a big responsibility that we carry. But then you see it on the social and cultural side too, the acceptance. The different things that we advocate for. That's just as big a part of the WNBA as it is, the brand on the court.
Hmm. When you talk about the evolution of society in general, it gets into something else I wanted to ask you about, which is, I think last year, on the heels of Caitlin Clark and the rookie class coming in, there was a lot of conversation about, the older players and the newer players being at odds. And like, this idea that there was like a bitterness and a jealousy. And for me, I just felt like that whole conversation just never was treated with the level of compassion that it deserved. Like I think you can even liken it to queer rights, where things accelerated so quickly, kind of in the way that things have accelerated for the WNBA, that the older generation, they get to bear witness to the spoils of the work that they did for the younger generation. And I think that you can be happy about that and sad for what you didn't get at the same time. Like, I just think that like, joy and jealousy, all those things, like they can exist together. And I just don't feel like that was the conversation that was had at all. And I was just curious, like, if you had any of those feelings or just what you thought about all of that.
Well, it's funny because all those things were created by people not playing.
Mm,
I mean, I didn't have any bitter jealousy towards anyone. Um, if anything, I was ready to compete. I think we took competitiveness for being bitter and jealous
yeah.
and
Hmm.
envious, which is also, if you want to go even further,
Hmm.
that is a very sexist way of looking at sports too, where you know comments were taking in a way where they try to make us pin each other
Mm-hmm.
against each other, which is never the case. I mean, there is not one league that is more together than the WNBA. I can tell you that for a fact. 144 stands strong on a lot of things, which a lot of leagues would never even dare to talk about because they couldn't get that type of solidarity from that many people. So there was never any of that. But I think the commotion around it was so big and so loud and so nasty
Mm-hmm.
that it perpetuated itself. But I think if you look down on it, it's just competition. That's all it is. Uh,
Yeah.
the old players that are in the league now, it's just competition. And now these younger players, they'll be there one day. Everything
Mm-hmm.
comes full circle, and
For sure.
they'll be in the same situation and they want to compete. And that's the beauty of sports.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. I can't let you go before talking to you about trash talk. So
Ah,
I had this game that I wanted to play with you. So what I'm going to do is I am going to go through some of your finer moments as
okay.
maybe the best trash talker in the history of basketball. And I want you to almost analyze them for me like you would a jump shot. Is that
Yeah,
cool? All right,
sure.
let's do it. Let's do it. All right. So 2016 Rio Olympics, Team USA hanging out, the men's and the women's side. And you asked Draymond Green, hey, Draymond, how does it feel to be the only person in this room who has never been double teamed? I'm curious because this is the two titans of trash talk. Is there what
Yeah.
was there something extra? Like, was there a lead up?
Well, I think we were having a conversation about pay equity, which
Mm,
I mean that's how long we've been talking about this stuff. It was
yeah.
just 15, we're on the boat in Rio, and I think we were just having. There was a ton of people in the Nike suite. We talk about everything. We'd spend
Mm-hmm.
hours there. When we weren't on the court, we were in that room enjoying each other's companies and different points of views, and it got heated, and that's just where it went. Draymond's a great friend. I love Dre. I love everything he does on the court, off the court. He pushes boundaries in so many ways. So I just pushed his boundaries a little bit. No big deal.
Was he pushing your boundaries before that? Was
Oh
there anything
yeah,
he was saying to you? You can share?
come on! You don't think I'm pushing boundaries? Mistaken.
I feel you. I feel you. Okay. The next one, 2013 WNBA conference finals. You and Simone Augustus are getting into it with each other. You're basically, you're nose to nose. You're bumping each other. I think it was coming off of like an out of bounds play, and I know you're giving each other a little extra before the ball goes in bounds. A little gamesmanship there, and then out of the blue, you just give her a little peck.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I think you said after. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like you went, you said after the game that you were just trying to make sweet love. That's about it. But that moment always stuck out to me because it feels like for you, like competition for you must be the highest expression of love there
Yeah.
is.
If it was anyone else, it probably would have went somewhere else. But I have so much love and respect for Simone. We've been playing against each other since we were 12, in the good old AAU days, and we've always competed against each other. We had a great rivalry in the WNBA. On the Olympic team, we shared the same spot. For 3 or 4 Olympics, we play against each other in Europe, and it was a chance to go to the finals, and things were getting heated. And me and Simone would always go hard at each other, but we always had this line that we would never cross. And that
Mm-hmm.
was that one little time where I was like, we can't let this get out of control.
Yeah,
I just gave her a little peck on the cheek, and in my culture, we're Argentinian, so kissing on the cheek to us is like a high five. It's all good.
gotcha. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I feel like you just kind of raise the stakes to a place where I feel like only you could diffuse them like
Oh,
that. So that was
well,
fun. All right.
the refs were like, "What do we call?"
Yeah, didn't they call a double foul? Because
Is
they were
that
just
a
like,
flagrant foul for showing, love?
come on, yeah, come on, guys. That was just some sportsmanship there.
Yeah.
All right, last one. Gino Auriemma, when he beat the all-time wins record, you said Miss A in reference to Kathy Auriemma, Gino's wife. I'll always remember those conversations in your driveway, Miss A. I'm done with this guy. And she would say, "Me too, D. Me too."
I mean, you just even saying that, I close my eyes and I can remember walking up the driveway, especially in my early years where I just didn't know what coach wanted. I didn't understand why he was pushing me so hard. I would look around in practice and people were, screwing up left and right and he would just let it go. It's like he
Yeah.
would ignore it. And the minute I looked at him sideways or, a pass wasn't perfect, he would just pounce on me. And I would always have those conversations with Miss A in front of their house. And she would always talk me off the ledge. She'd always make sure to let me know that, he's doing it for a reason. And there's going to be one day where you're going to really thank him and appreciate all the things that he was trying to get you to do. And, look at this 24 years later, that conversation still makes me really emotional.
Yeah, I mean, that must have been a tough transition for a very confident and fiery player like yourself, right? Where you're not really yet at the place where you can understand that he's doing that because he expects the most out of you. And I think that's really
Yeah,
cool that she was there as that like diffuser.
yeah. I mean, look, I was coming out of high school. I was like, oh, just come right in and play
Yeah.
40 minutes a game. And next thing I know, for the first, 4 or 5 months of the season, I'm not playing much. I'm at the end of the bench. All the things that I didn't understand. He was just making sure that I knew when it was time to play and it was my turn, I was going to be ready. And that came to be true in the long run.
Yeah. Did you ever think you'd retire before him?
There was a point there where I was like, all right, I think coach is ready to go. I think coach is like tired of, and especially NIL came into play. And, there was all these different facets of college coaching. And, you saw Saban retire and then Jay Wright retire, titans of these sports. And then I was like, I
Hmm.
think Coach Remo might be next. But
Yeah.
he's found a way to evolve in these last 2 or 3 years where I think now he's looking at NIL and the challenge that imposes, onto a team. I think now he finds that as a challenge for himself. And you see this spark and this different fire in him, especially after winning another national championship. So I think he's going to be there a while.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the competitor
Yeah,
in
I'm
him,
here for it.
right?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
Yeah, new landscape might have actually. I think he does. I know from what he says, he doesn't necessarily love all the implications of it, but I think it just maybe gave him a new chessboard to play around with. So added some novelty to the situation. I also feel like he just loves AZ as well. Like I just
Oh,
don't
yeah.
think that he would,
I
leave.
mean, when,
Mhm.
when he's looking down there and you see AZ and you see Sarah Strong, I'm sticking around too.
That's a good point. That's a good point. You got to see Sarah Strong through, man. Like, yeah, she's so incredible.
Baby
Um,
Jokic.
sorry, what's that?
Baby Jokic.
Baby Jokic. Yeah, yeah. She's got this like this combination of Luka, Jokic, all these players that can just decelerate, see the game before anybody else. It's so fun to watch. I'm going to let you go in a second. Have I sufficiently warmed you up for one hot take off of WNBA opening weekend?
Let's see what we got here.
What's that?
Let's see what we got here. Give me one.
Oh no, I want from you. I can
Oh,
give you
you want
one.
one from me?
Yeah, of course. Of
Oh,
course. We're here for
Mama
you.
Mia.
Yeah.
Hot take. One hot take. I'm gonna go with. Actually, now I'm worn out.
Wow. That's that media training. That's that
That's
media
what
training.
happens
20
when you
years,
get old. You get
24
worn out
years.
quick.
You include UConn too. Okay. All right. I respect that. Game respects game. Okay. DT, thank you so much for joining the show. I really appreciate you. And good luck on this retirement journey.
Thank
Really
you.
looking
I
forward to see
appreciate
what you
it.
do. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.